What up, roomies? Most people go their entire lives without experiencing anything that can be explained. But then there are people who say that they've seen something more, something beyond this world. Tonight's guest is someone who says that she's had a real encounter with extraterrestrial beings. And that experience didn't just change their life, it led her down a path of healing, spirituality, and helping others tap into something deeper. Whether you believe it, question it, or just curious, this is going to be one of those conversations. Jenny, welcome to Neighbors. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm doing really well. Thank you. I'm excited about our conversation.
I'm extremely excited. When I saw your post and you said that you had an experience with ET, I was just like, oh man, I was just like, that's so I it's like, how can I explain it? It's like one of those things where you're just like I know there's other life out in the universe, but it's like it's crazy to like know some to like speak to somebody who's actually had that encounter with something other than human.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to say oh no or speculate. I just want to know the story. I want to know the experience. I want you to guide us through it, and let us know what's really going down, because I truly believe that here on Earth I feel that we're lied to a lot by the powers that be, and two, I feel that because of the fact of where we are evolutionary wise, our perception doesn't allow us to see everything that's actually going on.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah, I think that, when we're born, we still have those perceptions into other realms and sense energy and everything else. But through the human experience, it gets programmed out of us, if you like, and then depends on who we grow up with and everything else. So I'll just give you a little bit of background about me. Born in the UK. I was born sort of fairly near Stonehenge. And ever since I was little, I have been really sensitive to energy. And as I got to sort of age, sort of about 7-ish, I started to sense other beings in other dimensional spaces, and also actually started seeing and hearing occasionally ghosts. And so I've always had sort of a channel, if you like, open to that. In my teenage years, I just totally blotted it all out. But, like a lot of teenagers, had a fascination with horror films and sci-fi and, all of that. Anyway, we eventually, after I met my husband and had children and everything, we eventually decided to move to New Zealand. And even though I'd had some quite unusual experiences on and off occasionally, it was when we got to New Zealand that I started sensing, if I explain it like this, sort of being from the UK, it's hundreds of thousands of years old, and it's had a lot of human energy in each era as we've gone through time. But New Zealand's fairly new. It's it hasn't had major amount of human interaction, just bits. The nature here is amazing. And when we first got here, I started seeing light coming out of the bushes and the trees, which was, to me, it was like, whoa, look at that. Never seen that before. So then I started developing my spiritual side a lot more, going into healing and having interactions with, I also trained as a medium, so I had interactions with, spirit loved ones and people from other realms. Sometimes guides would come in as well. And I was busy. I had a healing practice where we lived up near Auckland, and I was busy. I had clients coming in. And the first actual ET experience, because I wasn't majorly into ET, I was more into spirit then, was we would go out sort of last thing at night and let the dogs do what they needed to do before we closed the house for the night. And I'd start seeing like flash bulbs. So it would be like, let's say, 3 flashes in the sky moving. And my husband would see it, daughter would see it. I thought it was spirit, but it wasn't, I found out. So One evening we were going around a friend's house for dinner, and they didn't really believe in this sort of thing. So, you know, I wasn't expecting anything to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were sitting there having dinner, and after dinner, behind my friends, there was a like a ranch slide, a big window, and the curtains were open. It was a summer evening, and I could see the odd star, and I could see an aeroplane go past. And anyway, the light started flashing above my friend's head in the ceiling there, and it was going crazy. And I thought, oh, I thought spirit's here, something's going on, because I felt the atmosphere change as well. And I really thought that there might have been her dad that had passed that was trying to get some notice taken.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was sort of like, I said to them, I'm just going to go through the rest of the house and go to the bathroom, because I wanted to see if the other lights were going for it. So I did. I walked through, and the other lights was flickering on and off as well. And I thought there's something really strange going on. Anyway, I came back and sat down, and I was looking in between them while we were all talking, and I saw this little, I reckon, about 4 foot high little grey being staring at me from outside.
Oh, shit.
Like really staring at me. Yeah, and I didn't feel frightened or anything like that. And I just looked at it, and then literally within about 10 seconds, it disappeared. And then in my head, I got the impression or the thought, we're watching you. And I thought, ooh, that's interesting. What's that all about? So anyway, me and my husband, I know. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, so me and my husband left, and I told him all about it. He hadn't seen it, so it was only me that saw it. And then we went home, and then anyway, a couple of weeks later, I had a client on the table, and I was doing a healing session on the client, and then this hologram of an ET, which I think was probably Arcturian, came into the corner of the room, and it was shimmering sort of light, and I could explain exactly what she felt, a feminine energy, what she was wearing. She was wearing like a long gown which was silvery light particles, and it was kind of moving. She looked like she had shoulder pads on, so it was some type of uniform. There was some sort of emblem here. She had like a high collar, and then small sort of features, and then a head wear on, which she had a big bulbous head underneath, which I knew. And the gown was sort of like right down to the ground. And I've since spoken to other people that have had ET contact as well, and they recognise that material. So yeah, anyway, I'm working on a client. If you can imagine the situation, I've got a client on the wall, and this being in the corner of the room, and I have to compose myself and just carry on with this healing. And then so I'm sort of aware of her being there, and anyway, I just carry on because I think there's nothing else I can do. And this client's a paying customer. I've just got to carry on. And she started implanting images in my mind of the layers of the aura of the body and what I could do by sticking my hands in and like playing a piano, moving them around and moving the frequencies. And she also put into my head, you need to use your voice. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go with it. So I started toning and sort of singing, but it's not actual words, it's sort of sounds. And the client on the table must have thought, what on earth is she doing? So anyway, I'm toning, and I could start to see these like frequencies going up through the aura as my hands were going in, and I knew that I was changing things and clearing the aura out, and I could see the layers going up. And I finished the healing, and they felt really good, and they left. And anyway, this teaching lasted for several weeks. She would, every time I had a client, she would appear in the corner of the room and teach me things about healing and, you know, what I could do. Definitely the sound was really important, having to tone and create a sound that went into the aura and into the cells of the body. And twice that I became aware throughout those weeks of teaching, twice there was a male, human male, that got brought in, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that they were asleep somewhere on this planet, and their astral form was brought in, was stood the other side of the table, and they were being taught that particular lesson. That happened twice, and it was the same person as well that came in twice. I don't know who it was. I've just got a brief image in my mind of what they look like. And they were literally in for the teaching and then gone. Yeah, and that teaching, that really opened things up for me, because I was a Reiki master teacher, so I was already doing healing, a medical intuitive, and but once I'd had that, my whole healing sessions completely changed to much more expanded consciousness and tapping into a much more direct, powerful energy source, more so than Reiki. Reiki is a gentle, strong energy source, but gentle. This is like direct, and it's like light codes that come in, and then those codes are put into the aura of the person to help the light body and the information that's already stored in the body to be released. So it's fascinating stuff. But when all of that happened, I got totally mesmerized by ET stuff, and I thought, I've got to find other people in New Zealand that have also had contact. So I searched online and I found C5.
Wait,
you know,
by Dr. Stephen Greer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I watched the documentary, and I really want to do one of his excursions on that.
Yeah, honestly, I've never actually been on his, but I have been on loads now here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's so worth it. If you want to have an experience with ET, definitely go on a C5, whether it's with Stephen Greer or whether it's with another C5 group. Because since going on those, we have had so many amazing contact experiences with seeing lights up in the mountains where you know there's no road, beaming down across and out in a big beam, and then coming together and then coming back up to a single point of light and disappearing. Where we used to live, I experienced a ground flash, which is literally, we were literally getting ready to sit outside, and we hadn't even sat yet. We were just chatting, stood on the deck, and this light flashed all over the ground, so it's nighttime, and lit the whole place up like as if it was daytime. And then I watched it track back up as it disappeared to a point near the tree, near where we used to live, and disappear.
Oh shit!
And yeah, it's been amazing. Honestly, it really has. Yeah, and we've had beings on the ground stood around, and you know, some people have been touched. We've had scintillating light where you can stick your hand in it and start waving your fingers around, and there's sparks going on all over your hands. And sometimes they've put us in like a big energy bubble, and they've kept the weather clear for us, so we can. It's really cool.
That's so cool.
It is. And these, I use these with them. So I have these on different frequencies, And when I take these out, when I'm sitting out, we've got a small group together. We've got zero gravity chairs. You're dressed up in sleeping bags and woolly hats and everything because you're out at night and you're lying there watching the stars. And I always take these out, and I've got a little interaction thing that I do with them, and they always start chirping off. So they're different frequencies.
Yeah.
But they'll start as if someone's the other end going. And I know it's them interacting with them.
That's so dope. So like, I'm just trying to like, because my mind is going crazy with like all these questions, right? So like, because you say you've always been spiritual and you've always been kind of like in communication with, you know, I would say extra dimensional beings, right?
Yeah,
or
definitely.
our spirit guides, right?
Yeah.
When you had that first encounter with like an extraterrestrial being that's part of like the third dimension, right? How was that different from like you like channeling your spirit guide, or like, you know, coming in contact with like an extra dimensional being?
Yeah. Well, it's very similar. So, but the ET stuff has been more in this realm. So the lights, actually, everybody sees it. It's not just me seeing it. So everybody sees it. We've seen craft above. So it's more physical, if you like. Then when it comes to the actual beings, that is a bit more multidimensional, like a spirit would be, or a spirit guide, or a ghost would be. It's a little bit more like that. I'm pretty sure, because I know the ones that we are in contact with do not want to frighten us, so they will not appear as they really look in solid form, whether they can't or whether they just won't, because you know, we're not used to seeing like that tall one that moved in the video I sent you. Yeah, that one was probably about 7 foot tall, really, really skinny. And because I'm clairvoyant, I can sort of see them. It's not like full on in solid form, but I sort of see them shimmering in another dimensional space, if you like, a bit like I would a ghost.
Yeah.
So I'm able to draw what I'm seeing. So yeah, it's a little bit more physical than a spirit guide. I also do physical mediumship, so that's where you actually, you know, you invite your guides to come down and either transfigure over your face, so your face changes, and this is in deep meditation, or to move something in the room, make a light flash, you know, or whatever. But I think it's harder for them to do that, whereas ET, you know, they've got such advanced technology, and it just feels like they are much more in control of how far they can come into this realm and how far they can't, if you like. Whereas I think spirit have to build up a lot of energy to make something move or to come into this realm and show themselves. Ghost stuff is a little bit different again, because they are like stuck here often. I've been in several healing sessions where I've been doing the healing, and I've actually been asked to step back, and I've like stood around with a group of light beings. That's the only other way I can explain them. They're like really tall, just beings of light, and I've been one of them in this group, and the client's been on the table, and I've seen these what look like ET hands working in the aura of the person. And funnily enough, I had a client who was going in for an operation, quite an invasive operation.
Yeah.
And she phoned me and she said, look, I'm really stressed. I'm going in tomorrow for this op. I'm really, really anxious about it. So I said to her, look, don't worry. I'll send my team. So I met my healing team to come and be with you, make sure that everything works well. So I did. I just said to my team in my head, can you please go and be with her because she's having an operation tomorrow? And then I didn't think anything more of it. About 3 days later, she contacted me after coming round from the anaesthetic and getting prepared enough to be able to speak and everything. She messaged me. She said, oh my God, when I was coming round from the anaesthetic, there was these tall light beings all stood around the table. And one of them said, Ginny sent us. So I'm like, what?
That's so dope. That's so dope.
Yeah, so cool.
Like that whole experience, and like yet again, like people who interact with light beings and their spirit guides and all these extra dimensional beings. I feel that experience is so cool, and I wish I would, be able to have like one of those experiences. But it kind of also kind of like freaks me out a little bit because like in my heart I know that for a fact, that there's other things besides us.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just like when you see it for yourself, it's just like, holy shit, like my beliefs are for real. Like there's actually something beyond us. And that's the thing about it, right? So like, how can I say it? Like I know that there's multiple different species or different humanoids of extraterrestrials out there. But my real question is, right, I know a lot of them are looking out for us. Some of them probably don't really care much for us and why not. But why don't they like come out and say, hey, we're here? And like,
yeah, I think I know why. Obviously, the not so nice ones, they're doing what they want to do in the background anyway, so they don't need to come out. Yeah, the ones that are nice, I personally think they are already, contact is already happening with people like me and many other people that are already having contact. And groups like the C5, there's other ET contact groups as well around the world that are doing their thing as well. So contact is already happening. But if you look at it from a bigger perspective, it's already happening with people who are already open to it.
True.
And that aren't frightened. They're actually openly, I want contact, and so I know that the good ones don't want to frighten us. So that's my only thinking of why they don't all of a sudden come down, ships everywhere. Yeah. And there'll be a lot of people that would be so scared, the world would probably go a bit crazy, wouldn't it?
Well, the world's already going a little bit crazy right now. So something like that would, to be honest with you, extraterrestrials coming down and say, hey guys, we're here, we're trying to help you guys out right now, probably would be like the highlight of the year, and be like, all right, cool, at least something more normal is happening versus all the craziness that we're doing to ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, and I want that to happen. I actually really do want that to happen. I can only think that they won't do that because there's still a lot of people that are asleep and programmed, and that it would be so shocking for them. They would automatically go into fear mode because of all the films that we've been programmed with about extraterrestrials all wanting to come down and eat us, which we know is not true. But that programming, it's the same with horror films or films like The Exorcist or ghostly films. They've all made people frightened of all of that, whereas in our natural state, once we're fully in our power and our sovereignty, we are and not frightened, because we have no need to be frightened, really. we can access, by expanding our consciousness and our heart resonance, all of those other dimensional spaces if we want. I mean, I do lots of clearing work. So I have come across earthbound spirits that are stuck, which I clear over. I've come across non-human entities, which are like a lot of them like drain energy off people. And other, even on the opposite time, reptilian. I've come across reptilians attached to certain people, and the person, the ones that I'm thinking about, have realised that they are not acting their normal selves, and they've come for a healing because there's something up. They can feel it. In fact, they might have been really placid, kind, gentle person normally, but they've started acting aggressive or really angry or irritated about things or stuff like that. And I've had this one particular time that I'm thinking of, I've had a reptilian actually in my face. You can't see them out here, but where I'm clairvoyant, I can see them with my third eye in my face, trying to intimidate me, and I've gone, no, actually, I'm not frightened of you at all. And as soon as you start radiating that high frequency love vibe by opening your heart, thinking of all your family that you love and all those good vibes, they just disappear. They can't handle it. And so anyone who wants to have contact, the most important thing is to have no fear. And by going into that, what I just explained just then, having, thinking of your family, really opening your heart space, feeling that powerful internal love vibe radiating out through your field, which, like the Heart Math Institute have already proven that we've got the power to do this. You're more likely going to have contact not only with ET, but also your spirit guides and also nature beings, because you're then in that state. You're not showing any signs of fear, and you're just radiating out that unity, oneness sort of vibe. And that then, we've on a C5, we've been stood at the edge of the bush in the pitch black, and we've seen sparks of light in the trees, and other time massive crashings, and kind of see scintillating light in the shape of a craft appearing, and all sorts of stuff.
That's so dope. So by my understanding, right, and not just speaking to you, but speaking to other mediums and channelers and all that, right? One thing that I really want to kind of grasp my mind around, right? Mm-hmm. Like when it comes to like ET, are they coming here via through consciousness, or are they physically traveling from their planet to ours? I know some have to physically travel, but I know the ones that are benevolent, are of that low vibration, that higher vibration, and they use their consciousness versus actually traveling physically.
Yes, absolutely. Both those things. So definitely through consciousness, and I mean, some of them are so advanced they can kind of look like a hologram. Yeah. I've heard, I don't know this, but I've heard that some are so high frequency that coming down here, they just can't do it. And so that they've created organic little beings that can come down here, that they're kind of communicating through. So I've heard that. I feel that some can come physically, because literally those lights that I've seen in the sky, I know it's a craft going over, and yet it is light.
True.
I've also seen, me and my daughter saw one night like an energy ball craft. It was really, really high up, and it was going so fast that we only just managed to clock it before it went out of the atmosphere. And it was like, you know, one of those lights that you can touch and all the sparks come from that center thing and touch your fingers. Yeah. It was a bit like that. Yeah. I mean, it was flying real fast, and it was, to us, it felt like it was an energy craft. So that fusion in the middle must have been what was powering it, but it probably was controlled by consciousness. I've been sat out with 3 other people, and we've had go over the top of us a massive craft, but we can't see the actual craft, so we can see through, but we've seen all the sets of lights. So it's really hard to explain. I mean, this one was like 2 times the rugby pitch in length and wide, and there was all these sets of lights just going over the top of us, fairly low down, and we're all like, wow, look at that. And it lasted about 20 minutes as it went over. So like I said, we couldn't see the craft, but we could see the light. So they must have been in control of not being solid or being cloaked where they're actually see-through, rather than, you know, just cloaked into a shape. I mean, that's their technology.
Yeah.
It must be so advanced.
No, that's definitely true, because it's like like, all right, this is like one of when I think about ET, and when I think about like life in general, is like for like what the 6,000 years that we quote unquote know that so human civilization's been around, right?
Yeah.
Quote unquote, that's like what we have as written history. There's always been tales of, you know, star beings and our star cousins and people that come from the sky to like help us, right? So this is the thing about it. Like, I just can't understand how the narrative of, you know, we're the only things out in this big old universe could be, because if it was just a recent phenomenon, we wouldn't see ancient Sumerians writing about it. We wouldn't see like ancient Egyptians, like Native Americans and all that writing about these things. And it kind of like is mind-blowing because of the fact that so a lot of it's reality, but it kind of plays with the human imagination as well, and human curiosity. And me and my friends, we have this joke that we say that Earth is the ghetto planet. That's why the aliens don't ever come here.
Yeah.
They're like, no, those hairless monkeys, you don't want to deal with them. Just don't pass Earth, you know. And you will see like the mom alien talking to the kid alien. Don't you dare stop by Earth. Don't make me go pick you up from there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when you think about it, if you're up there looking down at what's going on down here, you'd think, there's no way I'm making contact with them. They're dangerous, you know. So
that's the first thing I would think.
Yeah, me too. If I was up there, but they again, you know, going back to how advanced they are, they obviously know there's a lot of us that aren't like that, and that are, you know, wanting humans to evolve and to, you know, to really evolve consciously as well as physically. And I think it is happening slowly. I think you can see there are people that now are getting into you know, out of body experience, astral travel, you know, higher consciousness meditation, all of those things to expand and to grow. And even with, if you look at quantum physics, they're sussing out that there's actual dimensional spaces that we can't see into and everything else. You can look at your animals. Your animals are a good sign that you've got visitors, because they will, especially cats. I think cats
Yeah.
can see much more than even dogs. You can often see, if you watch a cat, it'll follow something around the room. And, you know, when my cat does that, I think, oh, yeah, we've got visitors in here. And then often I'll see like a spark of light or an orb or something. We have had ET come in our house when we lived in our other house. They actually turned the TV off. Yeah. And I think, oh, I said to my husband, because we were watching TV, I said, oh, I think we've got visitors in here, because it's so subtle that you can kind of feel the atmosphere change a bit.
Yeah.
It like gets a bit
Staticky.
yeah, heightened electricity. Yeah. And then the TV went off, and I said to my husband, I think we've got visitors here. And I could just vaguely realise or sense that there were three stood in the room. And we just sat there, and I'm pretty sure that even though my consciousness was going, oh my God, this is good, you know, come, make yourselves known, you know, all of that. My body must have gone into an old fear response, because I felt my heart start going a little bit, and I thought, no, body, calm down, you know, because I wanted them to appear, because I really wanted my husband to see them as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, they must have. I know that they do full body scans on us, and they clock your energy signature to see where you're at. And they must have sensed that, because I felt them fade away, the atmosphere changed, and the TV came back on. I've had people stay at our place, and they've woken up and seen green orbs going up the hallway. And yeah, I know, it's great. I love it. One of my neighbours, where we used to live, he stopped me one day. He said, have you got a strobe light up at your place? He said, I was looking up, because we lived on a rural property. He said, I was looking up towards your place, and he said, I could see this light that was changing from purple to green, and then back to purple and green. And I said to him, he don't believe in any of that stuff. I just said to him, oh, that was my friends. And he said, it was like, oh, I definitely saw something up at your place. And I said, look, it's nothing to worry about. No, we haven't got a strobe light. So he witnessed it. And you know what else I think? I think no matter where a person's consciousness is, if they are interested in ET or ghosts or spirit or anything like that, or they've seen something which is strange, then I now believe that their energy signature has been clocked by ET, and they know exactly where you are on planet Earth. For what reason? I don't know, but I think that they know who you are, all about you, once you've had an experience.
No, I get that. No, I get that. And like, I've always and this is just me connecting the dots. I've always seen a correlation with like when anybody talks about, yet again, you know, channeling, spirit guides, and ET. The one thing that the two things that I've always seen come in common is that people speak about, you know, your vibration has to be high, and you have to be in the frequency of love, because love is always the highest vibration, right? But at the flip side, they always mention our electromagnetic fields, right? Like how the electricity in the air changes, and like how there'll be more or less static in the air. So, and right now, science is also proving that, you know, our bodies, you know, or what we call auras, is our body's electromagnetic field, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and you know, this is just me speculating and kind of like my curiosity, just like running with it. Could it be that the color of our aura, or like the intensity of our aura, kind of like dictates at like what level our consciousness is currently at? And the people who have like, I don't want to say a higher level of consciousness, but are more towards the higher frequencies of consciousness, ET, or like extra dimensional beings are kind of like, all right, cool, we could kind of like contact this person because they're physically they might not be ready for it because humans always have that fight or flight instinct, but
Yeah.
consciously that person's ready to kind of be introduced to like what's out there besides like what we see here.
Yeah, absolutely. I that totally resonates with me as well. I think there's several factors as well. I think when it comes to how much healing a person needs, and I don't mean physical healing, I mean emotional healing, even past life stuff, anything that might have happened in childhood that might have created something that's lingering in the field, in their field, their own energy field, because we can even bring through with us past life events in emotional and cellular memory that can come into this lifetime. So I think the purer you are as a person, so that's why, people like myself, we are constantly working on ourselves, trying to heal anything that might come up, any traumatic events we've had in life, we try and heal them both through the mind and through the emotional body and everything else. And my goal has been, as I've gone through this journey, is to become as pure and clear as possible, because I know, that when a person is, that's when they're more expanded and lighter or higher frequency, because they're not carrying all that stuff with them. So my journey has been, like my earlier years, major traumatic events happening in my earlier years, but as sort of got into my 20s, that sort of faded away. There was a few things that happened, but nothing, that I couldn't get over myself. But then later on down the track, when I became a healer, I then realized I've actually got to work on all the stuff that I'm carrying and get rid of it, offload it. And often that takes, like say if someone's got PTSD, that means working on the mind to break that pattern, that circle, working on the emotional body as well. But what I found too with myself is that a lot of healers I know, they're really good at healing the physical stuff. Excuse me. I find that I am able to go in and heal the emotional stuff. So I'm able to go to the very point of what created that, whether it's past life or whether it's inner child or whatever, even on the soul journey, and work on that to clear that, and it clears it out of the field. So answering your question, I think the clearer we become, the more likely we are going to be at a higher frequency, feeling good within ourselves, and all of that stuff. Yeah.
That's so dope. So like so what I'm getting right is that I have to gather my thoughts on this one. So all right. I believe that humanity is a very young race, right? A very young species. To be honest with you, like I said before earlier, we have 6,000 years of recorded history or whatever. I'm pretty sure the human race probably goes back a couple 100,000 years with a couple of mass extinction events that happened, right?
Same. Yeah.
So what I've noticed is that, right, in these 6,000 years, we probably in the beginning we probably were very enlightened, and then we went through like this dark age, and now we're coming out of that. But in 2026, a lot of people are working through trauma and doing like past life regression, working through past life trauma and all this, and they're trying to heal themselves. Do you think that's what's contributing to like so many more sightings of ET now?
Yeah, good question. Yes, yes. I think if you look at the human collective as a whole, the more each one of us heals ourselves, we're actually helping to heal everyone that is around us as well at the same time. So the whole of the human collective is rising in frequency. And when we rise in frequency, I mean, you probably already know this anyway, we are then more likely to be able to be at a vibe where it's easier for them to also contact us, but also the veil becomes thinner between the dimensional spaces. So I think even people that aren't aware of it, so I say to people, you know, when I'm doing a healing session, I take people through the start of the healing. There's a lot of people that are really good people. They've got good hearts, they've got good souls, and without even knowing it, their consciousness has expanded, but they don't know it. They're not aware of it. Yeah. So, you know, let's do it. For instance, say I don't know, a nurse who's really passionate about helping people and actually them, you know, coming up and being the best they can be and all of that. Now, she's going to have a high frequency even if she doesn't know it.
True or not.
So, yes. So she's more likely, or he is more likely to be working at that higher frequency. And because they're in that environment, their aura automatically will lift people up that are around them. Because I've also found that this works. I'm working with a group of people at the moment because I've, with the help of Spirit and my team, come up with this coaching program, which is all about awaken the multidimensional heart. So I'm working with these people at the moment, and this is like the third lot that I've done. Yeah. And it's activations and training to help them live the highest life possible, and to know that every single person that is here on a mission right now. As the earth and the human collective changes, grows, and rises up, earth herself too. I mean, we're in a pivotal point in history where before at these times there has been mass extinction events, but I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think that our consciousness as a whole is rising so much and so rapidly, and that's why everything feels like it's speeded up, that we are going into new territory, if you like, of that higher consciousness and higher awareness. That's what it feels like to me anyway.
No, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and there's people, like I said, that have no idea that their consciousness has expanded and their frequency is raised up, but they're still going to be doing amazing work, even on a spiritual level, without them even knowing it.
That is true, because even though you might not be aware of it, you're still, just by like your presence, the way you act, the way you treat other people, that right there, even on just the most basic level, when you treat somebody kindly, kindness is contagious. Being courteous to somebody is contagious. If you are able to do that for somebody, they're able to do that for somebody else. And that's how humans really are. We're like this one big domino effect. If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to the next person, so on and so forth. Of course, once in a while, we'll have a person skip that cycle, but for the most part, that's how humans are.
Absolutely, yeah. And anyone listening to this, you can practice this too if you like. I call it being a light ranger or a light warrior. But sometimes if I go into a shopping mall, say, and you can tell that the energy's really down and everyone's just, you know, it might be Monday morning and everyone's had to go back to work and they're, you know, all the energy right down. What I will do is I'll go in there and I'll go, okay, the energy in here needs to change. So I'll just walk along, think of all my family, everybody that I absolutely love, expand my energy out, and I'll expand it out as far as I can, and I'll walk around. So people are actually walking through my field. And I know that every time that happens, that they will rise up, and it'll have an effect on them in a positive way. And I walk around and I carry on walking, and I start to see people sort of straighten up a little bit. And then I'll start to see people sort of smile. And then, you know, as I carry on doing it, and if anyone can do this, so it's not that I'm special or anything, but anyone can do this. And it's all about the energetics of the body and the light body. And yeah, and you'll start to see people start talking to each other and stuff like that as you can go along. And another, you know, there's so many things that you can do to empower yourself to know that you know, this is for anyone listening, that you are in charge of how the field is where you walk. So instead of like shrinking down and becoming like everybody like that, and then you walk around and your energy body's all enclosed, and like I do the opposite, expand out and then walk through. And you know, even to the point where the other day me and my husband were in a plumbing store, and my husband's talking to the guy behind the counter, and I can sense that he is really down. And I just expanded my heart out again, radiated that love vibe, that high frequency. And then I said in my own mind, talking to him telepathically, like I sort of like play with it to see if things work. And I said, God, it would be really nice to see a smile on your face. And literally within seconds, his whole demeanor changed and he started smiling. And I'm like, yes.
No,
yeah.
But I've noticed that like people who are very close, you know, spouses, best friends, siblings, they have that that sort of telepathic connection where they can sense each other's intentions and all that. But just like stepping out of like, you know, the spiritual aspect of it all, you sent me an email that had 4 sketches, right? And that little video. Can you just go over like the different entities that you showed me, and I'll bring it up on the screen later on for the roomies to see it too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so the little grey being, what looked like a grey, that was the first one that I saw that was peeping through the ranch spider at me. It didn't feel evil or anything like that to me. About 4 foot tall, and that's sort of vaguely the image that I remember drawing of that being. The one that looks like an aquatic being with the fin ears, that is a being that appeared in the healing room while I was doing a healing on someone. And the being appeared the other side of the table. They were definitely an aquatic being. They had skin that was a bit like hippopotamus skin. It was thick and could take, you know, be under the water a long time. Really thin mouth, tiny eyes that could stay shut or open in the water. The main image I got, because they were stood the other side of the table, was the head, shoulders, and a little bit of the torso. But the unconditional love that was radiating from this being to the person I was doing a healing session on, and I could feel it as well. I've never felt anything like it. It was so beautiful that it was, you know, when I think about it, it almost makes you feel emotional. Yeah, and then when the lady that I was working on came round, I said to her, "Oh, did you sense anyone in the room?" And she went, "Yes, I did." And I said, could you mind explaining, if you saw them, what you saw? And she explained exactly who I saw in the room.
Okay.
So that's confirmation that they were actually there. Now, the other one with the tall head that I sent through,
Yeah.
that one was the one that stood like a hologram in the corner of the room and taught me healing stuff. That's that
okay,
one.
so that was kind of like the mentor.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure Arcturian. That's only what I feel. So I don't know 100%.
Yeah.
The other one, the tall one in the video, that was on a C5 down in the South Island of New Zealand. And it was the last night that we were on the C5. We were out on the field in the dark. And I just had this feeling that there weren't many around that particular night. There wasn't many around yet. Beginning of the week, there'd been a lot around.
Yeah.
But I said to the woman that I was with, I said, I've just got a feeling they've gone somewhere else. And in my mind, I'm thinking, maybe there's going to be a tsunami or an earthquake somewhere, and they've all gone to actually keep an eye on what's going on over there. But this one that was in the field, I felt the presence of. So I vaguely saw what they looked like in my mind, but I had to kind of put pieces of the puzzle together. But I think they were putting in my mind there is something else going on. I think they were actually putting it into my mind, but they didn't tell me what. So the next day we were all leaving, and of course, you know, you're out of any communication roughly for about a week. So anyway, I stopped at a local cafe to get myself a coffee, and I could hear that there's people in there going, oh my goodness, that was terrible, wasn't it? You know, and all this drama stuff talking, and I thought, I've got to ask what's happened. So I said, excuse me, I've been out of radio range or anything for a week. Can you mind tell me what's happened? And I don't know whether you'd heard about it, but there was a mosque attack in New Zealand, in Christchurch. And a gunman went in and shot a load of people. That was several years ago. And that just happened. And I thought, oh my God, that's what they were doing. They were there actually watching all that unfold, and, you know, watching what was going on. And that's why there wasn't many with us. Because where it happened was only about an hour away from where we were.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that one. And so they're here to help. Pretty sure if you've got your radar on that you can kind of pick up through your intuition, information, you know, more than likely going to pick up stuff. But obviously we put ourselves in that position there to have contact.
No, I got you.
So I go out.
No, I got you on that, because out of all the pictures that you sent me, like that one video was the one that kind of like made the hairs on my arm stand up a little bit. I was like, this feels, I don't want to say familiar, but that's what I want to go with. I want to be like, okay, this feels kind of familiar, and I could kind of like, I could see this, you know, being like a real being that you'll sit down and talk to, and, you know, and whatnot. But like, the craziest thing about it is, like, you know, I'm not, how can I say it? I'm not ignorant. I know how science works, and I just can't fathom that humans are the only quote unquote intelligent beings in the universe. So I really do believe that they, you know, that there are other species that come down and like help us out or like prevent certain events from happening. And I do feel that we're also breaking a cycle of violence, and hopefully, you know, with everybody guiding us, that 2026 will end peacefully.
Yes, amen to that. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And with that being said, Jenny, this is a question I ask all my guests right before we tune out. Do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or advice for the roomies?
Yeah, I would just say be the best person you possibly can be. Go out there, know that you're here for a purpose. Go out there and help lift up yourself, but also the rest of humanity. And we're all in this together. We can do it if we all do it together.
I feel you 100% on that. And roomies, remember, be kind to one another, love one another, love one another, and keep your eyes to the sky. Maybe you'll see something. With that, peace out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.